It was meant to be their triumphant return to Hollywood. The red carpet was rolled out, cameras flashed non-stop, and the designer outfits were impeccably tailored. But behind the frozen smiles and carefully rehearsed waves at the Sundance Film Festival, a disaster of epic proportions was quietly unfolding, one that has since exposed the harsh reality of Harry and Meghan's standing in the entertainment industry. We're talking about empty theaters, angered organizations, and a public humiliation so severe that legendary biographer Tom Bower has called it the final nail in the coffin. For years, rumors have circulated that the Sussex brand was faltering. But what unfolded this week in Utah wasn't just another setback, it was a full-blown catastrophe. From exaggerating their involvement in the project to enthusiastically promoting a film they seemingly hadn't even watched, the revelations coming out of Sundance are nothing short of shocking. And if you think you already know the story, think again, the worst is yet to come. What happened inside that theater has the film industry quietly whispering that the so-called Sussex touch has officially become the kiss of death. Let's begin with the moment that shattered the illusion. When you think of the Sundance Film Festival, you imagine lines wrapping around city blocks, die-hard movie lovers waiting for hours in freezing temperatures just for a standby ticket. It's the most prestigious film festival in the United States, where screenings typically sell out in seconds. So when Harry and Meghan arrived to premiere their new documentary, Cookie Queens, they expected a standing room-only crowd. They anticipated admiration and applause. Instead, they walked into what witnesses described as a ghost town. Investigative author Tom Bower, who has closely followed the couple for years, dropped a bombshell report that changed everything. According to multiple sources who were inside the venue when the lights dimmed, approximately 150 seats were empty. Let that sink in. At a festival where tickets are considered priceless, people actively chose not to attend a Sussex-backed production. The situation became so uncomfortable that festival staff reportedly went into panic mode. Witnesses say ushers scrambled to seat random attendees and even staff members in an effort to make the theater appear less empty. Despite these desperate efforts, an estimated 60 to 70 seats remained vacant when the film began. Meanwhile, the Sussex social media team attempted damage control, posting tightly framed photos of the front rows and claiming the screening was sold out. But those inside the industry knew better. They saw the truth firsthand. This wasn't a triumphant premiere, it was a rejection. And the embarrassment didn't stop there, because the way Harry and Meghan ended up on that stage is a story all its own. You might be wondering how the couple even came to produce a documentary about Girl Scouts. The short answer is, they didn't. This is where the story drifts into the murky territory of Hollywood pay-to-play. The film lists a staggering 24 executive producers. That's not a production team, it's a crowded elevator. Industry insiders, including Rob Shooter, have confirmed that Harry and Meghan were the final two names added to the credits, joining the project in late December 2024. By that point, the film was already completed. It was fully shot, edited, and finished. They didn't hire the crew. They didn't conduct interviews. They didn't sit in on editing sessions. Instead, they bought into an already completed project, added the Archwell logo to the credits, and arrived expecting applause. But their behavior at Sundance suggested they believed they were the main attraction. At prestigious festivals like Sundance, there is an unspoken but ironclad rule: the director comes first. It's their vision, their work, their moment. Yet Meghan reportedly ignored this long-standing protocol. According to eyewitnesses, she took the stage as if she had just won an Academy Award, delivering a lengthy speech, thanking her own team, and commanding the spotlight while the actual filmmaker stood silently behind her. She attempted to steal the spotlight, but instead, she only exposed her own lack of understanding about the very film she was supposed to be promoting. This is where the situation crossed the line from awkward to genuinely damaging. During her speech, Meghan lavished praise on the documentary. She called it adorable and described it as one of the most powerful and meaningful portrayals of an American tradition. She spoke enthusiastically about empowerment and the beauty of the Girl Scout organization. There was just one major problem with her glowing review: it bore almost no resemblance to the film the audience was about to watch. Tom Bower later spoke with multiple attendees who left the theater convinced of one thing: Meghan Markle had not seen the documentary. The disconnect was so stark it was almost painful. While Meghan promoted a narrative of wholesome tradition and female empowerment, the film itself was a dark exposé. Rather than celebrating children, the documentary reveals a cutthroat system driven largely by parents. It shows families going into debt, purchasing thousands of dollars worth of cookies up front, and relying on aggressive and manipulative sales tactics to stay competitive. One festival attendee summed it up bluntly: they literally cannot help themselves. they always step in it. Imagine standing on stage praising a wholesome tradition while the screen behind you shows children being coached to guilt strangers into buying cookies. It became painfully clear that she wasn't interested in the substance of the film, only the photo opportunity. And in her attempt to appear relatable, Meghan was caught in yet another lie, one so petty it almost defies belief. She has a habit of inserting her personal story into every narrative, and this occasion was no different. On stage, she reminisced about her own time as a Girl Scout, attempting to bond with the audience over shared cookie-selling experiences. It sounded like a charming anecdote, until the facts unraveled. According to Tom Bower's reporting, Meghan was never a Girl Scout. She was a brownie. To outsiders, that distinction may seem trivial, but it matters. Brownies are the youngest group, typically ages 5 to 7, and crucially, they do not sell cookies. That is not part of their program. So when she spoke about her cookie-selling days, she was fabricating a memory to suit the moment. Another embellishment, one of countless others. As one critic observed, she appears incapable of speaking without exaggeration, even about something as insignificant as childhood snacks. While this lie may seem merely irritating, the film she endorsed poses a far more serious problem, especially for someone who markets herself as a humanitarian. Let's take a closer look at what Cookie Queens actually exposes. The documentary pulls back the curtain on a system many critics now describe as exploitative. It reveals that the nostalgic door-to-door tradition is largely gone, replaced by a model that favors wealth, influence, and parental resources. Families are shown struggling to pay upfront for inventory, sometimes thousands of dollars, just so their children can compete for prizes or earn a chance to attend camp. The film also highlights how affluent parents effectively buy their children's success, purchasing large quantities of cookies to secure badges and awards. But it gets darker. According to reviewers, the documentary captures moments in which children are coached to weaponize sympathy. Girls are reportedly taught that cuteness sells, and in some cases are encouraged to emphasize poverty or disabilities to increase sales. This is what Meghan described as inspiring. She publicly championed a film that portrays children being used as marketing tools for a massive corporation. The irony is staggering. The couple who claimed they fled the UK to shield their own children from public scrutiny are now executive producers of a project that profits from the commercialization of other people's children. And the backlash from the organization at the center of the film was swift and furious. If Meghan believed this documentary would endear her to the Girl Scouts of America, she was sorely mistaken. Insider sources report the organization was blindsided and outraged. They did not commission the film, nor did they invite the high-profile association that dragged them into global controversy. In fact, the relationship is so strained that the film includes a disclaimer, buried in the opening credits, stating that the Girl Scouts organization had no involvement in the production. They have completely distanced themselves from it. Yet there was Meghan, behaving as though she were a global ambassador, drawing attention to a film that portrays the organization as predatory. It's a textbook example of the Sussexes failing to do their homework. They saw the Girl Scouts brand and assumed it was a safe, wholesome vehicle to rehabilitate their image. They likely viewed it as a way to outshine Princess Catherine, patron of the Girl Guides in the UK, an attempt to position Meghan as the American counterpart. Instead, she inadvertently endorsed a takedown piece and alienated the very organization she hoped to align with. But the fallout isn't just reputational, it's financial. This is where the real panic sets in. For the past 2 years, Harry and Meghan have insisted they are building a media empire, frequently citing their lucrative Netflix deal as proof. So the obvious question is this: if Netflix wanted Cookie Queens, why wasn't it released on Netflix? The answer is simple. Netflix holds the right of first refusal on their projects. If the platform believed in this film, it would already be streaming. The fact that Harry and Meghan had to travel to Utah to shop the documentary around speaks volumes. Netflix took one look and passed. And this wasn't an isolated rejection. The timing of this Sundance embarrassment coincides with reports that Netflix has officially cancelled Meghan's animated series With Love, Meghan after just 1 season. It wasn't quietly shelved, it was publicly dropped. The message from the industry is unmistakable. The Sussex name is no longer an asset. They are no longer an asset, they are a liability. Sources say the filmmakers behind Cookie Queens are already regretting the partnership, realizing too late that the controversy surrounding Harry and Meghan has completely eclipsed the film itself. Instead of sparking a competitive bidding war, the documentary is now sitting in limbo, unable to secure a distributor. And then there are the optics of the week as a whole, optics so disastrous they border on self-parody. Just days before stepping onto the Sundance red carpet, Prince Harry was in a London courtroom, visibly emotional as he described how the media had made his life a misery. He spoke at length about trauma, intrusive cameras, and his desperate need for privacy. He painted himself as a victim of relentless press attention. Less than 168 hours later, he boarded a plane to Utah, walked a red carpet, smiled for photographers, waved enthusiastically, and actively sought out the very attention he claimed was destroying him. The hypocrisy is impossible to ignore. You cannot sue the media for looking at you on Tuesday and then invite them to photograph you on Friday. Even their shrinking base of supporters is struggling to defend the contradiction. This moment validates what Prince William has reportedly said behind closed doors, that Harry and Meghan want the privileges of celebrity without the responsibilities of royalty. The Sundance debacle proves something else as well: they simply cannot operate within the real world of entertainment. They lack the instincts, they avoid the work, and they fundamentally do not understand the industry they are trying to conquer. And nowhere was this clearer than during one painfully revealing moment in the post-screening Q&A. If you are producing a documentary about cookies, you would assume you have a favorite cookie. It's the softest question imaginable, designed to humanize, to connect, to create an easy laugh. But when a Variety reporter asked Meghan to name her favorite Girl Scout cookie, she froze. Instead of answering with something simple, Thin Mints, Samoas, anything, she launched into what witnesses described as a meaningless word salad. She deflected, speaking vaguely about personal preferences, shared experiences, and layers of complexity, without actually answering the question at all. It was a masterclass in saying absolutely nothing. Why couldn't she answer? Because answering would have required authenticity. It would have required real engagement with the product and the culture she was promoting. By refusing to choose, she revealed that everything is a performance. She was afraid that picking the wrong cookie might alienate someone or clash with her brand. This obsessive need to appear perfect makes her come across as robotic. She claimed to love the tradition, yet couldn't participate in the most basic conversation about it. That's not just awkward, it's proof she is completely out of touch with the audience she's trying to charm. But if the cookie moment feels petty, the political firestorm Harry ignited during the same trip is far more serious. While they were failing to fill seats at Sundance, reports emerged that Harry and Meghan had publicly rebuked Donald Trump. Regardless of one's political views, from a strategic standpoint, this is what experts describe as a self-inflicted disaster. Prince Harry is in the United States on a visa. He is a guest. His immigration status is already under scrutiny following admissions of illegal substance use in his memoir. For a foreign prince to publicly attack a former, and potentially future, U.S. president is a breach of diplomatic protocol that is virtually unheard of. Reports suggest King Charles and Prince William are furious. The British monarchy survives by remaining politically neutral, especially regarding the internal politics of its closest ally. By dragging royal titles into American political conflict, Harry isn't just risking his reputation, he's risking his residency. There are now serious conversations about whether he could be forced to leave the country. From a business standpoint, this is catastrophic. Hollywood doesn't invest in instability. Who wants to hire a producer who might be deported for reckless commentary? This lack of impulse control is alarming to his family in London and toxic to potential partners in Los Angeles. That toxicity has begun to bleed into their social lives as well. One telling moment cited in the transcript was Meghan's appearance at Kevin Costner's event honoring emergency workers. This wasn't a red carpet she was invited to walk, it was an event she reportedly showed up at. Industry insiders are noticing a pattern. They no longer receive invitations to the Oscars, the Met Gala, or elite Hollywood gatherings. Instead, they crash charity events or buy their way into festivals like Sundance to maintain the illusion of relevance. They are no longer treated as peers by Hollywood's elite. They are treated as nuisances. When Meghan grabbed the microphone at Costner's event, or when she pushed ahead of the director at Sundance, it wasn't power, it was desperation. The Hollywood royalty fantasy is over. Real royalty doesn't have to push past ushers to fill seats. Real royalty doesn't have to attach its name to a finished film just to get credentials. What we're witnessing now is a transition from celebrity figures to social parasites. They are the guests people tolerate politely to their faces and roll their eyes at the moment they leave the room. And finally, we have to talk about the numbers. The lifestyle Harry and Meghan maintain is extraordinarily expensive: full-time security, private travel, PR teams, and endless legal fees. That machinery costs millions every year just to operate. With Spotify gone, with Love, Meghan cancelled, And cookie queens unable to find a buyer, the question becomes unavoidable: where is the money coming from? As one commentator bluntly noted, Meghan has no meaningful income stream left. They are burning through cash with nothing substantial coming in to replace it. This explains the desperation. This explains Sundance. This explains the frantic attempt to sell a documentary about cookies. They need a win. They need a check. But because they refuse to do the work, refuse to create original content, refuse to follow protocol, refuse to be humble, they are chasing ever-shrinking opportunities. The financial abyss is staring them in the face, and 2026 may be the year they finally fall into it. They traded the dignity of the crown for a paycheck that never arrived. As we look at the wreckage left behind by the Cookie Queen's premiere, one thing is clear: 2026 is shaping up to be the year the industry finally turns its back on the Sussexes. Tom Bower's revelations about empty theaters and performative producer credits have stripped away the PR spin. They are not power players. They are driftwood, clinging to whatever floats by, hoping it keeps them relevant. And now, with Netflix walking away and Hollywood laughing at empty seats, the real question isn't what their next project will be. It's whether there will be a next project at all. If they can't sell a movie about Girl Scout cookies, what exactly can they sell? Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this is the end of their Hollywood ambitions, or will they find another way to reinvent themselves? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed, because if this is how the year began, the rest of it is going to be wild.